Well, we thought we'd run up the Wasatch grade between Ogden and Evanston and try to find locations to film the big boy.
Either that or get a boat.
We were going to wait for a break in the weather, but it just never stops raining.
Oh, yes, it does. Just wait 5 minutes or drive 5 miles.
That's Utah. So we had a lovely break in the weather, and that's good. But then the rain would come and go, I'll put it that way. And here's what's motivating it. Notice that they've lit a fire in the big boy. They've been restoring this thing for a couple of years now in Cheyenne, Wyoming. It used to live here in California. And several years ago, I got a lot of video of them hauling it to Cheyenne to completely rebuild and restore this guy.
This is the world's largest steam locomotive, and I find myself almost moved to tears over this footage.
Union Pacific has always had something of a steam program. This engine, 844, has been on the roster since the day it was built. And it and the big boy are coming to Ogden for the 150th anniversary of the railroad. Both locomotives reside here in Cheyenne. Now, on April 27th, 844 will travel to Rock Springs, spending the night, and then on the 28th, it will travel on to Ogden, where it will spend a few days on display.
We followed the 844 quite a bit up in Pocatello and right here in Ogden.
Yeah, here it is on display a few years ago for another big event.
It really looks like it's brand new.
Yeah, Ed and the guys over at Cheyenne just finished rebuilding it 2 years ago, and then they started with the big boy. Here's the big boy being towed to Cheyenne from California 6 years ago now.
Wow.
And then they've been rebuilding it for 2 years, and it will be returning here to Ogden. I shot this footage in Ogden, right where it will be joining 844. So on May 4th, the big boy will be leaving Cheyenne. Now it doesn't travel as fast as the Northern, so that first day it's only going as far as Rollins, and it will be spending the night there in Rollins. Then on May 5th, it will travel on to Rock Springs, about the midpoint, wouldn't you say?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now this is strange because on the 6th it leaves just after midnight so that it can arrive Evanston at around 8 o'clock in the morning. It will stay there on the 7th because the main line's going to be shut down for repairs. Then on the 8th, it will glide down the Wasatch grade to Ogden, where it will join 844. So some big fun here.
Yes.
May 9th in Ogden, both locomotives will be there at the depot, and they're going to roll the two engines up nose to nose and have a big ceremony celebrating the rebuilding and rejuvenation of the big boy.
That's so cool.
Isn't this just going to be, it's all-day thing going on the 9th, and both engines on display.
It's just amazing.
Yeah, and then on the 10th, the actual 150th anniversary of the driving of the Golden Spike, the whole festivities move up to Promontory Summit, where they will be reenacting the driving of the Golden Spike with the two reproduction engines that they have up there.
That's really a long drive from Ogden, technically in the middle of nowhere.
It's way out there, and it's all sold out. But they're going to be redoing the enactment on the 11th and 12th, and I believe there's still parking tickets. They only sell parking. Then, the big day of all big days, May 12th, the two locomotives will double head back up the Wasatch grade to Evanston, pulling a passenger train.
Wow.
They're selling tickets for the passenger train. If they weren't $3,000 and $5,000 a seat, I'd grab us a couple.
Oh, gee, that's a lot.
So we went out to find places where we can film this amazing train. It leaves here in Ogden into the Weber Canyon, the lower Weber Canyon, then through a real flat middle ground into the upper Weber Canyon, and then across another flat and grassy valley, and then up Echo Canyon, the most amazing part of the entire journey, ending in Evanston, Wyoming.
They've been restoring the roundhouse in Evanston.
It's turning out great. Anyway, we wanted to go out and look for places that we could film, especially in Echo Canyon. Shooting a train eastbound in Echo Canyon, well, it's nearly impossible, and you really have to plan ahead. So here's the track that the train will be departing on. This is just down from the depot in Ogden. It runs down toward the Riverdale Yard. It's really neat here because you're just right next to the train as the little road here, and you can. I'm not filming and driving at the same time. I rigged a GoPro to the dashboard. It's perfectly safe and sane. But look how neat this is, where it paces right alongside the little 2-lane. Well, in real short order, the train turns into the Weber Canyon, and you're climbing the Wasatch Grade all the way to Evanston. And this is, well, it's the steepest part of the Union Pacific, and I think a lot of people would argue this is the most beautiful grade on the Union Pacific, at least the original Union Pacific. So let's take a look at the map. Here's where it will be departing the depot and then turning into the lower Weber Canyon. At this point, it's kind of hanging up on the side of the hill. You can see it from Interstate 84 here, but it's just kind of up above your head. But right here is the Devil's Gate Bridge. And this is a really impressive spot. There have been some great historic photos taken here. This is not long after the railroad was built in 1869, and they've parked this excursion train here just to get pictures on the Devil's Gate Bridge. You can see in the canyon below how it's just up on the hill, which is above the freeway, which is down at the bottom of the canyon now. It's not in this picture for some reason. The bridge has changed a lot over the years. They've put in new bridges and modernized the bridge, but it's just an absolutely amazing place and a great place to grab a photograph. The problem is, this is what it looks like now. This is a famous picture by James Belmont, and the freeway's right here. So he just pulled over at the side of the freeway to grab his picture from this little spot right here. And that's just dangerous as all get out.
It is.
And if there's a whole lot of people chasing a train, it's going to be real dangerous. Moreover, you've got to access it from the westbound lane. So if you're chasing eastbound, well, it's just pretty much out of the question. But for the drone pilots among us, I figured out a really neat workaround, because just about 3/4 of a mile further up the eastbound lanes is the eastbound rest area here at this little tiny reservoir. Now, this isn't a bad spot to stop and get a photograph anyway. Great place for a run-by. But if you had a drone, I suppose you could launch it from here and make it all the way down to the Devil's Gate. I mean, why not? When we were filming with Ian's drone, if you remember, it has about 2 miles of range.
It does.
So it could make it down there no problem.
This one looks like someone has shot it with a drone or something.
I bet, because it looks like drone footage, but this is a great spot, and you could just fly right down to the Devil's Gate from here. And notice that it's super simple on and off the freeway if you're eastbound. And for eastbound, that's kind of rare. Eastbound is much harder than westbound. Now, the next little off-ramp up from there is kind of tempting. It's a great spot to get a shot, but notice there's no way back onto the freeway if you take the Highway 167 off-ramp. You can take this little road down to the river, but then you're going to have to get on 167 all the way back up to Morgan, and, well, you might not want to do that. But look at the spot. It's really a neat spot, but you'd have to decide for yourself if it's worth getting off the freeway for the next part of the trip.
This next part is really spectacular from the freeway.
Yeah, you can actually pace right alongside, because if you'll notice here, the tracks are to the south side of the freeway, so when you're eastbound, the train's just right alongside you. So when I was here filming the trip up to Cheyenne with the dead big boy, I was able to pace right alongside. Notice that there's a police escort up at the front.
There sure is.
Well, they expected people to drive like they're nuts, because rail fans will do that. So there was quite a police presence and even a police escort at the very front to make sure that nobody did anything too insane. But there are even great places where you can pull over, and the police were sort of letting people do that. And so there were a whole bunch of people along the side of the freeway getting great run-bys.
As with the railroad mottos, safety first, I would exercise a certain amount of safety while chasing the big boy.
Yeah, you don't want to get killed trying to get a photograph. Now here is the little town of Morgan. It's real easy to climb off the freeway and just come over here should you want to take a photograph at the old freight depot here in Morgan, which I did. And real easy to catch up to the train, real easy to pull over here and get a shot. Now above Morgan, we enter the upper Weber Canyon, and it starts getting all windy, and there are bridges and there are tunnels. And so it's a really great place to shoot. There are a few places in here where you can just pull over at the side of the freeway, and that's how I was able to get this shot.
What a picturesque vista.
It's a beautiful place. And I was just off the side of the freeway. Super, super simple. And super safe, because it's really wide, real easy place to pull off. Now here we have Taggart. You know Taggart.
Yeah.
There's a neat little restaurant here and everything. But you can pull off, easy on, and then you come down this little road. You do have to come down in here about 3/4 of a mile. Once you get down here, there's all kinds of parking because it's a famous fishing hole. It's also a real famous place to grab photographs, because look at this.
I love the tunnel.
Isn't that great? Now, once these trees get in vegetation, it gets a lot harder. But the biggest problem is, if you come down in here, there's probably going to be 1,000 other people down here. And there's a big parking lot, so that's not a problem. But if you're not down here early, you will get pushed out. And that's what happened to me here. I got down here and couldn't find a spot, and that's the best shot I was able to get right there. So the next little hamlet here is Henefer. And notice that the tracks are now on the north side of the freeway, so eastbound pacing is right out. Westbound pacing, however, can be done right through here, and it's really good. But Henefer is a nice little town, and there's a great shot right here from the overpass. Easy off, easy on from either direction, and that's how I was able to grab this shot from the overpass. Super simple. I was over here for a couple of minutes and then on down the road. So this is the Devil's Slide cement plant. It's a great big business up here. And easy off, easy on, because there's a lot of people who work in here. And you can come over here to get a rather short shot, should you want to, crossing this nifty little bridge right here. And then on to the bustling metropolis of Echo.
Oh, gee.
They were shooting a movie here. But at Echo, the trains are going to head up Echo Canyon. So the trains go through this incredibly sharp corner right here and start up the steepest part of the grade. Interstate 84 ends right here and joins with Interstate 80. So you will be now running up Interstate 80 instead of Interstate 84. Now on the other side of the tracks is the Old Lincoln Highway, America's first interstate highway. And so you can go over there to get some shots. In fact, it's a great place to get some shots. There's an off-ramp right here to get over to the old road. The Old Lincoln Highway here is one of the great locations anywhere in the state to do train spotting and rail fanning. So it seems like this would be a perfect place to film the train heading up the grade. You've got the cliffs here, busy bit of main line, heavy grade, everything's going to be working really hard. It's just a spectacular, spectacular place. But it does have a downside, and it's a really, really big downside.
This is really a great spot. In fact, we found quite a few decent spots to video the train.
Yeah, if there's no one around, I can't think of a better place to go. But the problem is when you're fighting crowds, this can just be a disaster to come up here. The canyon itself is almost 30 miles long. It's about 27 miles all the way up to the top. And while the whole thing is quite spectacular, the really neat spot is down here where the big cliffs are. And if you're on the old road, for the most part, the cliffs are behind you and you can't see them. So that's a problem. It's also 17 miles from that first off-ramp to the next off-ramp. So you won't be able to get off the freeway at all through here. And from the eastbound lanes, you can't even see the tracks, so you're not going to get anything. Now, if you take the old road, the Lincoln Highway, yes, you can see the trains, but the cliffs are to your back. So that's a problem. And right here, it's going to dump you back onto the freeway anyway. You can see here the old road just ends and merges onto Interstate 80. And you can only go east, no going back west.
While scenic, this isn't the best road.
It's narrow.
And windy.
And there's no shoulder. The problem is if you're chasing a train along with a whole bunch of other people, you're going to get caught behind cars in here. You can't pass them, you can't get around, and you're not going to get anything. It's a really, really neat place, but the times that I've come up here chasing a train with a lot of other people, I've been stuck way back a mile behind the train, can't get around, and I've gotten absolutely nothing from the old road over here. So that's something to keep in mind.
You could come here early and set up in a spot, but once here, you're probably stuck here.
You're going to be stuck here until the train gets to Evanston. But you could get one neat shot from the old road over here. But that's all you should plan on getting is one shot and then getting trapped in here.
But it's sure scenic and a beautiful spot.
Yeah, and if you just want to shoot freight trains and stuff and you're all by yourself, there is no better place. Now, right at the cliffs here, there is a rest area. Now, the problem is the rest area from the eastbound lanes doesn't show you much of anything. If you want to come in here and get a picture of a truck part, then you can get that. There's a sidewalk here that leads up and up and up. It's the steepest sidewalk I've ever seen, but I did walk up to the top of it to see if there's a shot, and, well, there just isn't. From the very, very top, you get the tiniest little peak of the railroad tracks, and that's all. Now, you could fly a drone up here, maybe, but if you want to see the tracks, you've got to go over to the westbound lanes. And there's the thing. This is the Great Canyon to film westbound. It's just impossible to film anything eastbound. You also have to watch out that you don't get attacked by the ground squirrels.
There's a lot of ground squirrels this time of year.
And they're very tame, and they will climb right up you looking for a potato chip. So just bring them a bag of potato chips and give it to them some distance away, and they'll leave you alone. And then you can get amazing footage if you are westbound. And you might even consider coming over here and setting up for the eastbound train, knowing that you're going to have to go all the way down to the Echo exit and come back up the canyon from there. But it's a great, great spot. Unfortunately, there's no crossover. There's no way to get from the eastbound to the westbound side, short of going all the way down to Echo if you're westbound, or going clear up to Castle Rock. It's over 10 miles above here. That's the closest exit to turn around and come back to this place, unless you want to try something dangerous and illegal. Right here, there's one of these emergency vehicle turnarounds, just barely above the rest area, but you're not supposed to use it, and it's dangerous.
Now, I took this video going westbound on the freeway. It was really easy to get the track and everything.
Yeah, it's a great place westbound. It's just eastbound that's a challenge. So for the westbound big boy, this is rock and roll, but for the eastbound double header, well, this is going to be a challenging spot. And you might want to pick some place like the westbound rest area and just get set up in there and get your great shot, knowing that that's about all you can get when you're eastbound. Now, 17 miles up into the canyon, we run into our first actual legitimate legal off-ramp for Castle Rock. And it's a great place to shoot east or westbound. It's even just kind of a fun place to come and explore.
Exactly.
But look at the size of this huge parking lot here. So all kinds of people can pull over here, all kinds of places to shoot. This is the uphill track. Now you have to keep in mind that they run backwards here in Echo Canyon. The tracks just below you here are the downhill track. The uphill tracks are the one back on the other side, just backwards of what you find in the United States, more like what you would expect to find in England. But they've done this because it's such a steep grade, and they were able to put in a more gradual grade by climbing up the hill on the other side.
And of course, we went exploring the old road.
Yeah, it looks like there's some people living down here. There's a huge junkyard.
Yes, Ratfink.
There's this cool bridge here for the downhill tracks. You can drive right up to the downhill tracks. The uphill tracks are way up high on the hill and you can't even see them from here. But this could be a neat place if you wanted to film the downhill. There's also this amazing junkyard.
Yes.
It reminded me of Dennis McBride's junkyard out in Grantsville. A lot of old cars and stuff, but not open for business. These people aren't interested in talking to the public. They got signs saying, beware of the dog and beware of the owner. And so probably best to just let it be.
Yes.
I personally find it rather picturesque, though.
Yes, I can envision Ratfink living here.
It's beautiful. Now, just up from here is Wasatch, spelled differently than the usual Wasatch spelling, but this is the summit. This is the highest point. The tracks just level right out here for the trip into Evanston. Also, just below here, they cross over the top of each other, so now they're running right way around once you get up here. The old water tank we did that video.
We did.
On this area. It's a beautiful, beautiful, fun area. There's also a dirt road here that goes right on into Evanston. So you could take the dirt road all the way into Evanston, and it would actually bring you right back here to the freeway on-ramp. The exit's called, what is it?
Wasatch Drive.
Wasatch Drive, okay, because it's the road down to Wasatch. So you could take the exit here and just double back on there if you want to get some shots and avoid driving up the dirt road. Right here, there's actually a really good spot. But if you continue down the road, well, there just isn't anything.
No.
You can't see anything and you can't see the tracks. But right up here near Airport Road, there's a couple of really nice places. So if you wanted to take the Harrison exit, the Wasatch exit, you could come over here by Airport Road. And this is a pretty neat spot. It's probably the last shot you'll get because, well, you're here at Evanston. Well, this was a lot of fun.
It sure was. I'm glad the weather cleared up.
I'm glad because it was so rainy, snowy, sleety. It was just nasty. And, well, now it's nice. So let's hope it stays like that for the big boys so that we're not dealing with weather when the train comes through.
Right. Yeah.
But you never know. Anything could happen, especially up here. We're at a really high elevation. I mean, realistically, it's still winter up here. Well, if you're not a subscriber to the channel, your opportunity is not lost. Here comes the blue button. There it is. Well, we're not sure how you found this movie on the internet, and we hope you didn't find it boring. And we will see you here again in a few days with the Collector's Attic. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye-bye.